Welcome to Culture Shift with Duda Penteado. And I have today a very, very special guest, Olga, my good friend, her husband, Ben. You guys are amazing. Olga is
Thank
the
you.
creator and the founder of JCTC.
Jersey City Theater Center, right?
Yes, which to me is the best theater you can find around here because it really brings a variety of experiences. But before we get to Jersey City Theater Center, we are going to, which I'm familiar. I serve on the board. I still a special committee.
Yeah.
So we've been together in this long journey. I want to ask you um, where you were born and how the spark of theater begin in your life.
Well, the first question first. I was born in Ukraine. I was born in Kiev, and I grew up in Belarus. When we're talking about spark of theater, a lot of it is my mother. My mother introduced me to theater, to poetry when I was very young. I grew up surrounded by books. But I also have to say that in my life, especially in Ukraine, every summer I would travel to Ukraine, to Velika Staritsa. It's a village
Mm.
next to Kiev. And over there, Duda, I would run freely on the fields, pick up flowers, swim in lakes. And I believe that all that freedom when you grow up as a child is very important for us as
Mm.
artists, right? But first introduction to theater, it was my mother. She brought me to theater for the first time when I was about 3 years old, maybe a little bit later, but that's what she told me. And she brought me to see Moliere. And when I grew up, and she told me, when you was 3 years old, I brought you to see Moliere. I'm like, Mom, Moliere is all about intrigues and, you know, attractions. Why did you decide to bring me to see Moliere? And she said, we didn't have babysitter. I didn't want to leave you home. And as soon as you walk in, you said, this is where I belong. But also, my grandfather worked as a dispatcher on a railroad in Belarus.
Mm.
And right next to his office, it was a theater. And it would be always empty because he worked at night. So I begged him every time he had to work at night to take me with him.
Mm.
He would work, and I would go to that theater and read poetry and imagine that I'm acting. And I believe that all those little pieces made me who I am today. And of course, later on, I went to all the professional schools. I got into Belarus School of Arts at age of 8. And it was actually very interesting because my mother also brought to my attention that there's school, and if you want to get in. And at that time, I loved dancing. If I wanted to get in, I had to go on audition for
Mm.
this school. And I said, Mom, I really would like to go and learn an audition. And on the day when auditions were, she got sick. And I took 2 buses to that by myself at 8 years old.
Wow.
And I went and auditioned. And when they called me back, my friend mother went back with me. And they said, well, we really like your audition. Now you have to sign. And the mother of my friend, she is actually my sister-in-law right now in Ukraine. She married my uncle. So her mother was talking to administration of the school as she was my parent.
Oh, wow.
So
And that's
it
how it started.
yes, that's how it
8
started.
years old then. That's how everything really, like you got your first
Yes.
school and assignment.
Yes.
That's amazing. So,
Yes, but unfortunately my mother couldn't pay for the school, and I remember walking around the school, and the principal of the school saw me outside and he said, "Why are you not in class?" And I was so embarrassed to say, we don't have money to pay. And it was 5 rubles a month, I believe. And I just started crying. I shared that with him, and he said, "Go to class. Nobody ever gonna ask you for payment ever again." And he did all the documents, and I went
you got a full
full
scholarship.
scholarship for 5
Oh,
years,
that's
and
amazing.
then beyond that as well, because I was also performing almost every weekend. So the free time in my life also associates a lot with Ukraine, because when I was in Belarus, I had 2 schools and I also performed every weekend. It was very busy for me, but yes.
See, that is connecting a lot of dots. Why I know you for years, and every time I work with you, it's so important to give opportunity to others and to children. And now it hits home because that's how it was for you. And if it wasn't that full scholarship, you'll not
Yeah.
be able to learn and do the things you love. And that was the thing that, made a difference for you. So you understand that. What I have a question about Ukraine, but before I get there, let me just finish this point. Is it right for me to say you're from like the Eastern Europe area?
Y-
I don't know. I always thought it is right. So let me first put my question and you correct me. Um, you come from a school then is European and Eastern kind of European theater school, right? What do I mean by that? When I grew up in Brazil, Brazil has a lot of European influences, so I always saw a lot of things theater that comes from Europe. So our school is more the European school. I mean, meaning the Broadway show, as we know in New York, is something really new. That I only got in touch when I came to New York City, which to me, the Broadway show New York City is kind of the Hollywood movie from Hollywood style, right? Then, they had similar styles in the way it became the American style. I was never familiar with that. I was more like European, more organic, more stage built in different ways. So I when I got connected with JCTC, this is what touched me because I'm like, she's bringing something else to America. Then is becoming a hybrid, but has this very European, I guess, Greek and beginning theater impressions.
yes, yes. And it all comes from the history, right? From the history of theater. So Broadway, which has also a lot of great productions
Sure.
because the way actors trained. But the history of Broadway, based on bringing the star from Europe. Usually it's a singer or just a singing star, because a lot of people in the United States didn't understand English. So the producers had to manage that. And then Americans mostly were background for that big star. And they would go from state to state to state. And this is how Broadway was born. So it's very much star-based productions. Whereas, and I wouldn't say that it's only European, because it's all over the world. A lot of theaters and storytellers, right? They come together and they tell different stories in very organic, and in very organic way, but in different cultural languages and different cultural styles. And I'm very, very attracted to that. And of course, I do come from, you can say, Central Europe, Eastern Europe, Ukraine, Belarus, and a lot of the technique that I have learned based on Stanislavski technique, but I am attracted in ensemble performance and repertory theater when people work together for many years and then they also have an opportunity to tell different stories. So what you see, a lot of the arts that I bring and also what we have created at Jersey City Theater Center, it's basically that. It's more organic and ensemble theater. Because I grew up with that, right? I grew up with people working together. They get familiar with each other, and when they tell the stories, they understand each other. It becomes a second nature. Whereas in Broadway productions, it's always changing, right? It's always some long running shows, people also become a family and work together. But yes, and then a lot of actors also train in theater like that.
Is a lot of your foundation come from the basic Greek style of school, theater school?
I studied Greek theater like everyone else, as history
Everyone
of
who studied.
everyone studied, and I do have. I believe in philosophy of theater is a democratic tool because of Greece. But of course, I, like so many others, have Stanislavski training. Although I did study at Lee Strasberg Theater Studios, and I studied with Jorge Cachero, who is exceptional director, who started this company with me. I was lucky enough that my professor supported me and started
Learning
Jersey
with
City.
him.
Jersey City Theater Center started with a student and professor. He supported and he helped me, and he directed the first production, which was Land of Fire in 2007 by Louis Santero. And we produced in New York because we couldn't find one single, even a basement in Jersey City to invite union actors.
Oh, wow. So, okay, we transition now to this. So 2007 is the first year of JCTC.
2006 is when we incorporated, and
You opened a
when we had the
nonprofit.
first nonprofit. We had to raise money. We had first events in 2006, but
Jersey City or New York?
Jersey City. And then in 2007, we announced the first edition, and we started receiving headshots. We wanted for this particular production for each and every actor, and it was 12 of them that we were casting, to come from different cultural background. But most agent of union actors wouldn't even allow the actors to come and audition and act here because they didn't know Jersey City culturally, artistically, and they wouldn't allow their clients to come. So we had to bring our first production just outside of Jersey City, Christopher Street in New York, and we rented Wings Theater for the first production, Land of Fire.
And for 2006 to now 2026, 20 years.
Yes, and I'm so happy that the first production was actually about Native people.
Wow.
Yeah, we started with telling the story of and giving respect and memory of native people of United States of America, not United States of America, because the story is about Argentinian tribe.
So it is about the people who were here before people came.
It's
Because they here mean in the Americas, in the old.
the
This is Argentina, so it's South America. But
yes,
the idea then I guess you guys are working in this is like you don't discover a place there's people. You know what I'm saying?
yes, but the story is this particular story was about um, European explorer came to Elador Fiego. How do you say land of fire in
Oh,
Spanish? L-
the land, yeah. Oh, wow.
Land of fire, and um he saw this tribe, and he some people think he fall in love with a
Tierra del
boy.
Fuego.
Yeah, they are
La Tierra del Fuego.
Diego. Thank you. And he took that boy back to England, and it's a real story. It's
Wow.
piece of history.
Yeah.
And this boy who was so different had presence with the queen. They baptized him in England, and then they gave him a lot of gifts, and he brought all of these gifts back to his tribe and started explaining in his own language how people live in England. And the captain thought that the tribe is going to change their ways. Instead, they pushed him out. They pushed their own the boy out of their tribe, and he was very lonely with all his with all his clothes and medals and everything that they gave him. Tribe resent him. So there's beautiful message in that story
sure.
of how one culture is not better than another, right? It's a different way of living, but it is not superior.
And I think the second story is sometimes you embark in a journey. I always tell people if you don't travel the world, you're never gonna know what's about. You need to experience, and those experiences change you. So I think the other story is the people who stays insular, they less open to experiences, and the person that goes got transformed, and so you're no longer the same person. So he comes back. He's this two people, right?
Mhm.
The one before, the one after, and he wants to be understood, but these people never changed. So I think that's the story in the end of the day of every immigrant, right? I came, I that story makes me think. That's what I love about theater because it's amazing. I now have 2 years more in the United States than Brazil. And every time I go to Brazil, I see the Duda side that became very Americanized.
Mhm.
But I still have some Brazilian in me because I was born there. So I'm always in conflict with myself. What's going on here? How do I like this? Where do I really belong? That conversation is always like there's embrace and there's rejection at the same time. But the reality, I tell people, I'm no longer the same guy. I left, and the way I see the world, the way I see the leadership of America and Brazil changed completely. When I was in Brazil and never came to America, it was very different. So I always got to think about when I'm talking to my own people in Brazil, like, do they really? I thought like then. So so it's incredible that story. Yes, and I think theater. Thank you, Olga, because you always being so. You're just not a great director. You're just not interested in people and community, but you have one of the greatest gifts I think you have is a curatorial gift. You're always finding the right place that is like impacting people. My mother came to that one. She was here, and I brought her to see the one about education. There's amazing play. I forgot the name.
Land of Fire. Not. I'm so sorry.
What's the name of
It's
that one?
Lines in the Dust by Nicole Selter.
Yes. Talking
Yes.
about redlining and talk about where you have good education and you don't. And first of all, the whole projection presentation of that was so creative and so amazing. But the content of the conversation, I always tell people, and you can give me your opinion. I always tell people, when do you know you saw something with great quality, either theater, art? When do you know that? And my answer always been, it's when you walk out of the place you can't stop thinking. Because when that thing is not good, I make it that next day you don't remember.
Yeah.
Do you know the movie you watched yesterday? They go, no, because it creates zero impact. When the movie is great, the theater is great, you like chewing on that stuff for a week. And then you go around talking to people. Man, I saw this thing. You gotta watch it. You gotta watch it. So that's great art, right? It creates impact on you. And you have, done incredible work in
Thank
bring
you.
diversity, but great message then challenge people to think.
Thank you. Thank you, Duda. And I believe that it comes from this desire to learn and not taking anything as it is. I have curiosity about the world, and I believe this curiosity is a secret for in my curation and in life, because I grew up in very diverse family. My ancestors come from, of course, Ukraine, Russia, China, and Belarusian Jewish.
Mm.
My first language is Ukrainian. Of course, I had to learn Russian. I learned Belarusian, especially literature. I loved Belarusian literature. There's some incredible, especially poets, Belarusian poets. And there was always that secret about my family, right? Some relatives in my family would ask Olga, even when I was a kid, so who do you like more? Which grandmother? Or and I knew
Like
what
each one
they
will represent a
meant.
different thing.
Yes,
Oh
like I
wow.
knew what they meant,
Oh wow.
but me as a kid, I loved every part of all of
Mm.
the grandparents, all of the grandparents. And I always wanted to find out, why are people asking me those questions?
Mm.
How are those parts of me or my family different? And what I realized, that they are all beautiful. And they ask what they ask because me as a kid, I saw the beauty. I saw the kindness. I saw
Mm.
how much they care about me. But
Mm.
sometimes adults fail to see what children can see.
Sure.
And this is why when somebody is trying to put one particular culture in a basket and sell to me as this is what it is, I say, mm-mm.
Oh, this is the best, and the other one is
Yes,
inferior.
yes.
You,
I say,
yeah.
in order for me to learn, I have to step into this culture and really find out for myself, because I know
True.
it is a love, it is tragedy, it's history, everything is there. And you just have to come out of your comfort zone and go and experience it,
Yeah.
really experience it.
Land
This is
yourself.
where the international or world music, global music come into my curation, because I really would love for people to feel, to experience the culture. And this is what art um, allow us to do: experience different cultures, each other cultures. And I truly believe, Duda, that this would build peace when we
Yes.
understand and come from somebody else's perspective.
I agree. Put yourself in the condition of the other, understand they come from, makes you a better human being. And sometimes you don't need to agree with the other person, but you could respect the difference. It's different than agreeing. I don't need to agree with everybody. People have different points of view, but I could respect, which gives a level of quality, the best quality human being. We don't need to agree on everything. Who is going to agree on everything? You know what I'm saying? So, but respect is the important thing, and I think we live in a society that lost all this sort of foundational important things. So, yeah, and it's interesting because every time I talk into an artist, then becomes uh who gets behind a big project like that, there's always a story behind that formed you. And the more we talk, the more I understand more about who you. I see you in action, but I understand more about the background, and that's amazing. Okay, so let's just put this together. 2006 and 2007 was Jersey City Theater Center was happening. When is the Why Eagle Hall appears in the scene and how it happened? Give me a quick retrospective.
Yes. So we couldn't find a space and nobody would rent us anything, not even a basement in Jersey City. But we raised the money here for our first year. And we made a decision to find that venue. And at that time, Ben already heard that White Eagle Hall, he actually saw it in 2004. But
Mm,
at that time, it was already under contract to become condos.
wow.
And when
Another one in Jersey
yes,
City.
yes, yes. So, but he put math together and he said, listen, this project is not going to work, especially in 2008 when the economy went down and nobody could
Sure, the
build.
crash.
Yeah, the crash. Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
The
I
housing
was,
crash.
we
Yes.
already had Leonardo, our son, second child, and I was also pregnant with Bianca. And Ben would send me to talk to Polish priest. He's like, this project is not gonna work. If you want to build theater in Jersey City, you have to go and talk to this priest. So we're the first one on his mind and on his list when project doesn't work. And I would be pregnant with a stroller,
Very pregnant.
coming very pregnant, coming knocking on the door of this Polish priest, and he would be like, Olga, I told you we are under the contract. It's gonna be condos. Like he at some point I felt like he was annoyed that this
Then you're
artist,
going over
this
and over
woman,
again.
like pregnant woman coming to his
Oh my
to
God,
his
what is
church
going on?
asking for about White Eagle Hall. And guess what?
The miracle
The
happens.
miracle happened in 2009, or 2009 or 2009 or 2010. They called Ben, the church called Ben, and they said, the developer broke contract. Can you talk to us about your proposal?
Wow.
But
That's
guess
called the God given moment.
but guess
The
what?
universe conspire. Oh my God. This is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yes.
I didn't know that
Yes.
story. It is
Yes.
so
Yes.
so much
Yep.
better now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes. 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 But guess what? Ben also lost his project. We had no money.
Yes.
We had to sell our house,
Mm.
move to suburbs because at that time we couldn't even afford Jersey City. And I said, Ben, we have 3 children. Maybe I know you love me, but this is too much. And he said, Olga, we're gonna go back to the priest and we're gonna ask them for a mortgage. I said, you're crazy. They never gonna go for it. And he said, well, we'll see.
It
So
doesn't hurt to ask, right?
doesn't hurt to. He went to the church. He asked for a mortgage, but and at some point they agreed to it. But in order to pay, you have to give down payment. I'm like, where are you going to get this money? He said, well, I'm going to call all my investors. I'm like, but some of them lost money because it's a crash. Nobody is ever
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
go
The
for it.
housing industry was falling apart.
Yes, falling apart. And guess what? He called everybody. And one person,
Said yes.
Jason Levine, said yes. theater, it's interesting. I'm in. And he's not even a theater person. So this is how White Eagle Hall, at least the structure, at least the first uh, purchase happened, right? Because of one person who said yes and who believed in this magic.
Wow.
Yes,
And
but
you
it
know,
was
I want to make this comment. The quality, the architecture. I mean, your husband has, you and your husband is a powerhouse. I didn't know until like several conversations after we're like working together a few years ago that he had a lot to do with the design of the place, the restoration, and then you
everything.
guys brought the pieces of the church and created art installation. I gotta tell you, if you out there needs to hear this, you haven't been to White Eagle Hall, is an amazing piece of restoration in Jersey City with a touch of contemporary environment and art. It's just unbelievable. And the day I found out that he was involved in the design, I always think about this. Why is the developer, you guys in a special category to me? Most of the developers I know, they want to build big things and condos and make more money, more money, more money, more money. I get it. People need to make more money. And I think money is a great tool to do a lot of things. But if you just caught up in this more money, more housing, what do you do to give back? And I think th- this is incredible God-given moment project because when your husband and you start thinking about and conspiring against the market, boom, the opportunity open. And this is now a landmark in Jersey City. We did so many events. I debuted the How Many Lies documentary with you guys. We had like a full house, almost 800 people on that day. And you guys had give back so much to the community, not just beautifying, give a place that it belongs, theater and music, but also really touching a lot of lives to people coming in. You know, you can't separate human beings from artistic experiences, you know? So
No, you can't.
yeah, every time I walk in there, it's like, oh my God, it's amazing.
And it's because Ben is an artist, to be completely honest, right? He comes from a family of makers. He comes from a family of builders. So his father was a furniture maker. He also was a carpenter who worked on World Trade Center for Union. And Ben grew up with that. He grew up also very poor in Italy when his family went back uh, when he was very young, and he always talks about how his only toys were rocks. And when he walks in especially historical buildings, you have to see him. He always touches the brick with so much love because that's his passion.
Well, it makes
That's
so much sense.
the
It
way
comes
I
from
love.
Italy.
I
When you
know,
walk in
I
those
know.
places in Europe, you're touching history,
Yeah,
right? You
yeah.
can
He
go to the
always
Colosseum. You can walk in Florence.
he
You know.
always
Oh
put
yeah!
his.
Wow!
I
Wow!
didn't see White Eagle Hall. I have to give him the
Yeah,
credit.
he saw it, right?
We walked in. It was a gym. So
Wow!
Jorge, my director, and I, my co artistic director, we came and he looked and he said, "Ben, it's a gym. It's not a theater. What are we gonna do here?" And Benny said, "Behind these dark panels, there's a beautiful theater. You just have to trust me." You just have to trust
Wow!
me. And I remember driving home saying, "Ben, it's a little bit too much. Your imagination, it's just a gym." And he's like, "No, there's a balcony, there's beautiful stained glass.
It's so true.
Everything was covered in
Well,
that
you walk
space."
there today.
And
The stained glass is there. The balcony is there. Wow!
100%. And he
Wow!
fought for every piece of history, outside,
Mm,
inside,
mm.
for every brick to be intact, even when he worked with designers, because that's his passion.
That's amazing. Yes, yes. what I want to ask you to you is like talking about that. I mean, I'm just thinking all of this, just thinking about all the plays I had the opportunity to watch, and you are obviously you have been one of my biggest support in the JCY map. You know, you sponsor, you help me with the melodies. You help me for the, out of all my sponsors, you have been the one I felt like I have a real. No, people come along. You need. They say you need a tribe like to raise a child. JCY map was my child designing a program. So a lot of people came along and helped, but you were one of the top ever, and you gave a home to us. We could do shows, do the presentations. So yeah, yeah. And I'll never forget that, the passion for the kids, you know. Sometimes I think the universe always conspiring. If you're not giving, you're not gonna get anything back. And
Yes.
it takes years for it to understand that legacy has to be built throughout years. It doesn't come in 1 year, two, five. It takes a cycle 20 years, I believe, for you to start feeling I'm onto something, right? I was just having a conversation with my guest here, and we're talking about the Art Basel in Miami. And I say, people talk about Art Basel in Miami so easy, so loosely today. They don't know it's 22, 23 years of been doing the same thing with a lot of other things happening around. So it takes a cycle 20 years.
Yeah.
Said all of that, you guys now in the cycle of 20 years coming to 2006, 2026. What is ahead for JCTC? What are the dreams, the plans? What's going on?
So I believe in life, that it's it's very important to follow your passion, right? But it's also important to, the most important, to see what people's needs are. And I believe that the next step, at least where I would like to see Jersey City Theater Center, and it does come from my own roots, is exploration of different cultures and breaking the borders, breaking our personal borders, breaking borders in our community, and also breaking the borders beyond United States, inviting people and breaking bread with people, because my relatives right now live in a war in Ukraine, and it
Yes.
is on my mind every day. How do we create peace for the next generation? I come from Jewish family.
Mm.
How do we create peace so it never comes back? It never, so history doesn't repeat itself. And the only way that I see as an artist, Duda, how we can do that is to introduce our audience, each other, to our cultures, to share stories, to break bread with each other. This is the only way for us to create peace, by coming together, by sharing the
You
stories.
said something very interesting. Elaborate a little more. You said history doesn't repeat itself. Let me tell you why. I always said the opposite. I always said history repeats itself if we don't learn with the mistakes. So, I mean, elaborate with this because a new thought for me. History doesn't repeat itself. I guess it's always changing and moving. That's what you mean by that?
No, I'm saying history repeat itself.
Or repeats
Repeat
itself.
itself
Okay,
all the
okay,
time.
okay.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Repeat
Somehow I
itself.
understood it doesn't. I'm like,
No,
oh, I'm
no.
okay,
It,
right. So we're
he,
in the same idea here.
yes,
History does repeat. I agree, and I
yes.
agree with you.
Because
Art is that tool that allowed us to make reflection and recollect thoughts and process and say we don't want to go to that direction. Which it goes back when you met my art at the Jersey City Museum. I
yes,
took the Guernica of Picasso and I deconstruct that painting and I connect with the event of the World Trade Center. Then I brought kids to talk about that. That was my art installation. And it was exactly the idea that we don't repeat. You know, in one of my lectures, I took what happens with the bombing of the Guernica city and I swapped the image with the World Trade Center. When I did the lecture, people didn't recognize that I swapped. They just saw destruction. In the end of the lecture, I said, look, I swapped the pictures, The reality, you're not going to notice because all you see is destruction. So, what do we do to stop destruction? We reflect, we think about the mistakes, we learn, right? So, that's why the paint is called Beauty for Ashes, is to change. You don't learn. There's no beauty in ashes in destruction, but the exchange is the lesson you learn and you don't continue. And that's when we met, right? You saw my installation.
Yes,
We
yes,
begin
and
to work.
I loved it. I saw on Channel One,
Yes.
Jersey City, when I lived in
The
Jersey
Jersey
City,
Museum,
at
yes.
Jersey City Museum, and I went to the museum as well, and I saw the process, the video of the process through Channel One, and I saw the real piece as well, and I loved it. But yes, it is history repeat itself if we forget
True.
what happened
True.
before us. And I believe that
So true.
what we're seeing right now is the repeat of what happened before, what my relatives, that secrets, you remember the secrets that we spoke about?
The family
The
secrets.
this family secrets.
Every
Why?
family got their own family secrets and
Yeah.
history.
Yes. Oh,
Yes.
the Ukrainians hungry that my Ukrainian grandmother would
Mm.
talk about 1933.
Mm.
Why? What happened? But it was not, I didn't know because it was not in our history books. It's only my great grandmother who refused to speak Russian would speak about those times. And my grandfather worked for government, her son, and he would walk in, and when I ask questions, like what does grandmother mean? Russians left Ukrainians without bread. And my grandfather would tell her, "Do you want me to lose my job? Why are you telling her that?" So growing up as a kid, I was very curious about all those secrets. And so it's Jewish family.
Survival secrets, right?
Yes, they
Many
never
times.
they never
Sure.
wanted for us to speak or even understand Yiddish, and I would be questioning why. They wouldn't want us to know about Holocaust that much. Everybody was the same, kind of like there was, and then later on, when I became a teenager, they started talking about, of course, the whole
Of course.
Jewish tragedy, and a lot of it I also learned from books.
Right, right. So, in closing, I want to know. I didn't think about that, but I think it's an important question. Do you think? Answer however you want. You think is there hope for this war to finish soon? It's been dragging for a few years now. I mean, however you want to say this, I don't know. I mean, I can feel your family is already in this for what 3 years.
Uh, yes, so it started in February. Actually, it's gonna be February 22nd,
4 years. We're going
2022.
to
4 years.
We entered the
It's more
fourth year
than
now.
yeah. It probably go over longer than World War II, right? We
Yeah,
could
one more
never
year, we're there.
imagine. We could never imagine 4 years, not to say more than that. But what I have to tell you, Duda, they inspire me every single day because when I talk to them,
The resilience, right?
the resilience. Our designer for Jersey City Theater Center is Ukrainian, and he does everything in 5-10 minutes. And when I talk to him, I'm like, Maxim, why so quick? He said, because we have electricity only for 2-3 hours. So I have to finish all my projects now because tomorrow is not promised. But at the same time, it's impossible to survive without hope. So there's also tremendous hope for everything during these times.
It's so interesting you're saying sometimes needs makes artists develop styles and techniques that shapes us in ways we cannot even understand. I was just with your son and your husband and Moma making introduction with my favorite Cuban artist, Winfredo Lund. And I was explaining Winfredo Lund working on paper all the time. And they asked me why, because they said that was cheap. And he also put a lot of solvents in his oil paint. It looks a lot of watercolor. And in the end create this incredible unique technique, just kind of he invented that out of need, and later on they start gluing his paper on canvases because it started becoming famous. And when you put in canvas, the market is more money, whatever. But out of that need, he developed a whole thing. So I mean, artists is just like
Vertical Hall in
the hope
Jersey
of the
City
world. Yes.
came out of
It turned
nothing.
nothing.
And
Yes.
people on
This beauty
Facebook,
for ashes.
yes, and people on Facebook and social media used to say, "Oh, they reach, they this and that," and I used to look at all of this and just smile. I'm like, should I invite all these people to my apartment?
Oh
So,
God.
it's
Yes.
or tell my story, or sometimes I know, I dress up and I walk into the room, and I see people like, oh, she probably rich or whatever else, and I'm thinking to myself, if only you knew that I
You
had
only knew the
only
beginning.
only two dresses, and one of them was a uniform. I grew up.
Wow.
I grew up with very little, right?
We should
But
do a document. I've
that's
been telling
made.
Ria we should do a documentary, Olga. But listen, in closing, I just wanna. I know it's coming up the 20 years anniversary. We're
Yes.
talking about that 20 years, a big
Gala.
mark,
Yes.
and an artist and institution. I want you to look here, the people out there, and leave them, invite them for, tell what's gonna be, and invite them to be part of this tremendous celebration of JCTC 20 years anniversary at the White Eagle Hall, right?
Yes. Please join us for 20 years anniversary, and we really would like to host everyone and looking into the future, hopefully the future without borders. And we're bringing international festival, real international festival, funded by New Jersey Economic Development this year, and conference
Amazing.
to New Jersey and Jersey City, and also come and see incredible artists like we breaking borders all the time. South African artist is coming, who also has incredible history. Namfuzi, she grew up. She basically grew up in a home, and she still became a singer, and now world renowned singer. So please come and see Namfuzi. We also Carolyn Dorfman and Breaking Borders with Rashad Wright. Carolyn
But this is all separate events.
It's a
So
separate
what I want you
events.
to do is
Namfuzi is
send to us the invitations we will put here.
Okay.
But just give me the date of the gala. What day is gonna happen?
The gala is on March 10th, and it is at 5 o'clock VIP and 6 o'clock all the guests.
And it goes all night long. No,
All
it
night long.
It goes on. No, it goes to 10, 11. All night long. This year's 20 years. It goes for 20
yes.
days, Olga.
We also have international artists coming this year, but it's we have a lot of different events. The Namfuzi is on March 1st. On March 7th, we're going to have Carolyn Dorfman and Rashad Wright. Please come join us. Join the movement. Join the movement of uniting, building bridges among different cultures. It is important mission. We need this to create peace and
to foster great human connections. Olga,
Yes.
thank you so much.
Yes.
You are the best. I love you. You're my sister. And to be continue.
Thank you, Duda. Thank
Thank
you
you,
so
thank
much for
you.
inviting me, and to be
sure.
continued.
Sure. Thank you guys for watching another great episode of Culture Shift. a lot more to come. And you know what I say? To be continue.